Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's movie that we watched was Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Now this is the final film in the Heisei era, and I'm quite sad about that because it turns out, having rewatched all these movies, the Heisei era has thus far proven itself to be my favorite era of Godzilla films. It has the right level of practical effects and campiness to seriousness that I kind of like in a movie, with a deciding lack of CGI. There's a little bit here and there, but for the most part, CGI hadn't come into super prominence yet in the movies. And so we close out the series with this movie and with a new monster, and that is Destroyer or Destoroyah or Destoroyah. I really don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce it. I have a hard time doing stuff like that sometimes. But anyway, so he's basically a big red devil-looking guy. Well, he doesn't really look like the devil, but he kind of has this very menacing appearance. He's kind of like if the alien, the predator, and the devil all had a baby. I guess that's the best way of putting it. So he can shapeshift, he can fly, he can shoot a laser out of his mouth or a beam out of his mouth, which is like the oxygen destroyer cannon. He has a laser horn. He has a tail that he can impale people with. So he's quite a formidable foe. In addition, he's created from the oxygen destroyer that Dr. Shirazawa made back in the 50s. So he's basically like the anti-Godzilla. So that's pretty fearsome and a problem when Godzilla needs to fight him. Other than that, there's no other new monsters in this movie. The 90s did a pretty good job of putting like an extra bonus monster in most of the films, and if it wasn't a bonus monster, it was a bonus something. But I guess this one kind of has that, in that it has Godzilla Jr., which is now a full-sized Godzilla, which is kind of cool. But that's about it. Anyway, let's kick off this movie now. So Miki Sagusa goes to Birth Island to check on Godzilla and Baby Godzilla to see how they're doing, and finds Birth Island completely destroyed. Back in Hong Kong, Godzilla attacks, and he's covered in these glowing these glowing marks all over his body that they've never seen before, and he's just going nuts, just destroying everything around him. And they don't know what's going on, so they call in the help of this guy, Yamane, who is actually Yamane from the original Godzilla films, his grandson. They call him in to work with to G Center to work with the Special Defense Unit to help figure out what they have to do to stop Godzilla. And it turns out they do some research, and he'll go into a nuclear meltdown when his core temperature reaches 1200 degrees. And theoretically, that will blow up the planet too if that happens. So, in order to slow Godzilla down, they deploy this new Super X-3, which is more of a jet now than anything else, and it does a pretty good job at freezing Godzilla. And they use it to freeze him. Godzilla, but meanwhile, there's been some shenanigans going on. They discover this new type of life form. It's a Precambrian life form, apparently, that's been mutated by the oxygen destroyer, and it will become Destroyer, or Destoroyah. And it ends up attacking it first starts out in a aquarium and kills a bunch of fish, and then it basically takes over a mine, and then there's all these human-sized monsters running around, and they have to fight them, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of different from a normal Godzilla movie, because usually they aren't fighting normal-sized or little monsters, so that's a little different. And they're going back and forth, they're fighting, and meanwhile, Godzilla comes back, or little Godzilla, or baby Godzilla comes back, and now he's full-sized. He's a little smaller than Godzilla, but he's basically looks just like Godzilla at this point, which is nice. Nice to see that they updated him and didn't make him look stupid like Minya. What is it? Now, they find out that due to what the Super X did to Godzilla, he's not going to explode, but he's going to melt down, and that he's going to basically release, he's going to melt to the center of the Earth and blow up the planet that way. So that's a problem, and the Defense Force has to figure out some way of stopping it. So they're doing that. They're looking into all that. Meanwhile, Destroyer's just getting more powerful, and Baby Godzilla, or Little Godzilla, I guess at this point, Godzilla Jr., ends up engaging Destoroyah in a fight, and it's he's like more of an insect form at this point. They fight and fight, and Baby Godzilla's doing a good job, but then Destroyer turns into his final form. He's one of those kind of monsters, and kicks the shit out of him, kills Baby Godzilla by dropping him into a building. Big Godzilla shows up. They fight. It's a really, really brutal battle. Both of the monsters just kicking the crap out of each other, beating just it's unrelenting. Godzilla goes down for the count. What is it? Godzilla sees like his dying son, and he just fucking loses his shit. Destroyer tries to make off, like he tries to run off, fly off, get away, and the defense force shoots him down, and he dies, like he blows up or disintegrates or something. He hits the ground and explodes, which is no good. And then Godzilla, overcome with grief at this point, is just like standing over his son, and his heart goes into meltdown. The defense force hits him with everything they can to cool him down, but like he literally melts. Godzilla literally just melts, turns into a skeleton, and dissolves, and then the radiation goes nuts. But all of that radiation is absorbed into his son, who becomes a full-fledged Godzilla. And the movie ends with footage from the original Godzilla. It's pretty good. All things said and done, this one's a pretty good one. I kind of skimmed over a lot of facts, but there's a lot of tangential or side stuff that I consider that is actually quite good. But I don't remember all of the little things that happen, but there's a lot in this movie. I'm just kind of overviewing like the major points, but there's like a side plot with the scientists making this micro oxygen, and it resembles the oxygen destroyer, so they think he's making a new weapon, and then they hire him to make something, but he's like, I don't want to. And there's that going on. And there's a couple other plots. There's a subplot of Miki Sagusa and this other girl talking about their psychic powers and how they like want to lose, like one of them, Mickey's like worried about losing her powers, but this other one's like, no, I want to have a normal life as like a normal girl, have a husband, have a family. So that's going on. And plus, Mickey is upset, like she wants to find Baby Godzilla. And then there's this other subplot with Yamani's grandson, who kind of has the hots for Mickey, like going after her, kind of. Not really like flirting with her, but like just working with her to get the day saved. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. Meanwhile, like you got to deal with the destroyer monsters on all levels, because they go from little tiny microscopic things to human-sized things to kaiju-sized things. So that's a problem as well. But this is a definite one you should check out. It's a little bit more violent, a little bit more brutal than the rest of this series. I mean, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 is also pretty brutal in terms of the fighting. But I'd definitely say check this one out. It's, for the most part, I'd say acceptable. I really enjoy it. I've seen it many times. And it is the close of the Heisei era, which is sad, but it's a very rare day where Godzilla actually dies. Most of the time he falls into the ocean or disappears when they kill him. I'd say using quotations. But in the first movie, you actually see the body, and then in this movie you see him die. Granted, his son basically rises to take his place, but still. So that's pretty good. All things said and done, this is a pretty good one, and a pretty good close to the Heisei era. Definitely sad to see Godzilla go, but he's going to be coming back. And we're going to address something really quickly here, because this is the best part to put it in, I guess. I'm not going to review the original American Godzilla, the 1998 one. I'm not going to review that. And the reason for that is because even though it bears the name Godzilla, it is not a Godzilla film. And I'll explain to you why. The Godzilla in that film has none of the trademark abilities or things that made Godzilla what he is. He isn't invulnerable. He doesn't breathe fire. Um, I mean, he's not as big, and he's considerably faster, more agile. It's just like, I know he's CGI, so you can do a lot more with him, and I know the suit is limited in what you can do with it. I understand these are practicalities, so I mean, I don't mind having different monsters. I don't mind them redoing Godzilla, but there are certain traits that Godzilla has to have, or he's not Godzilla anymore. He has to be indestructible. He has to be huge, and he has to breathe fire. And if he doesn't have those cat-like qualities, it's really not Godzilla. Now, you might say that there is that one moment in that movie where he kind of breathes fire, but it's not really fire. Well, it turns into fire, but it's kind of vague what he's actually doing. He only does it once, and it's kind of, you don't even know. But suffice to say, that movie's not very good in terms of a Godzilla movie. It's more akin to the Return of the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. That's a closer movie to that. And the reason I'm talking about the American Godzilla is because originally when Godzilla gets kind of put on ice, he kind of disappears for about a decade. And that's seen in Godzilla versus, or was it Godzilla versus, or Terror of Mechagodzilla, and then Godzilla 1985. There was about a 10-year gap where Godzilla was retired. In 2004, with Godzilla Final War, Godzilla was retired for 10 years. And now he's coming back in a little over a week, or exactly a week from now. Godzilla is coming out, and it is the 10-year mark. 1 decade since there has been another Godzilla movie. Now, he's made some kind of guest appearances and in some other things, but for the most part, he hasn't actually been in an actual Godzilla movie for 10 years. This movie, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, made 1995. Godzilla Millennium, or Godzilla 2000 in the States, or Western countries, I guess, came out in 1999/2000. The American Godzilla came out in 1998. Now, I'm not saying there's a correlation between those things, but I'm just saying, it looks suspicious to me that the Americans made a shitty Godzilla movie, and in response, Toho's like, "You don't know shit about Godzilla. We're making a Godzilla movie to make up for this. In fact, fuck that. We're making a whole goddamn series." So that's why I think the Millennium series kind of got made, was kind of to rub it in the American movie, like Hollywood's face. Like, you got all these budgets, you got all this money, but you still can't make a good Godzilla movie. And we're doing this like old school style, so you got no excuses. Anyway, I've rambled on a little too long about this. But definitely check this movie out. It's a very good one. And it ties this one back to the original with Yamane-san and the Oxygen Destroyer and all that stuff all tied together, and it closes out the Heisei era. It's quite a good film. That being said, next time we will be reviewing Godzilla 2000 or Godzilla Millennium, in which we will meet a new and different version of Godzilla, and we will be kicking off what is known as the Millennium cycle of Godzilla films. And I'll go into those when we cover it next time. All right, folks, good night.